Franz was crying. Quietly, without making a sound. Elisia lost her ability to speak for a moment when she felt Franz's tears wet her hand. Franz took her hand to his cheek, and his lips moved. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Liz. Franz's self-reproach continued in Elisia's silence. Every night, I dreamed that you were dying. But I didn't want to worry you, so I would get out of bed at dawn. You might think it was stupid. But I didn't want to sleep apart from you. I didn't want to be separated from you. Because of this weakness, I ended up like this. Elisia looked at him silently. Franz's tears fell from his chin, wetting his knees. When the faint words of regret faded, Elisia finally broke the silence. How long have you been like this? Franz's shoulders trembled at Elisia's calm tone. She continued wiping his tears. How long have you been spending these nights, enduring it alone? Franz looked surprised, and his lips moved. Tears flowed between his pale lips. Elisia couldn't bear his sadness and kissed his lips. When their lips touched, she tasted the salt of sorrow. I said I was fine. I said I forgave you. Why do you keep torturing yourself? I'm sorry. Franz rested his head on Elisia's shoulder. He buried his face in her neck and hugged her. Even if you forgive me, I can't forgive myself. Why? From the beginning, Franz's body trembled violently as he struggled to speak. He breathed deeply a few times and finally continued. If only I had acted firmly from the beginning. Franz's voice rang at Elisia's neck. His tears wetted her shoulder. Franz approached her and said, if I had not tried to avoid Crichton, but rather confronted him from the beginning, I would not have died. Elisia's heart sank at Franz's confession. It wasn't as if she hadn't considered this. But she would never blame Franz. In ordinary circumstances, people experience things for the first time. Therefore, not every choice can be wise. Because in a single lifetime, it's impossible to know whether a choice will lead to regret or not. Therefore, in her first life, Elisia could not blame Franz for his foolishness. Because everyone makes mistakes. But not everyone makes an effort to correct them. Isn't that what matters? Franz gave his life to repair the tragedy resulting from his folly. She couldn't blame someone like that, saying he should have done things right from the beginning, or why he didn't confront Crichton forcefully from the beginning. Therefore, Elisia went beyond that assumption. But Franz could not free himself from this idea. He constantly blamed himself and suffered. Over something past. Over something that cannot be changed. This makes no sense now. Elisia spoke in a calm tone. I hugged him and continued slowly. I said what matters now is something else. You haven't forgotten, have you? Franz nodded at Elisia's quiet words. He lifted his heavy body and looked at her. His wet eyes were full of her. Elisia looked at him with a warm gaze and smiled. Tell me, Franz. What is important to us? We're going to have a baby. Yours and mine. True. We had a chance. That's what matters. But. Tears streamed down Franz's cheeks at Elisia's gentle soothing. But I am guilty toward you. Franz couldn't free himself from his ineradicable guilt. Elisia looked at him and kissed his wet eyes. When Franz looked confused by her kiss, Elisia smiled and said, I have a request of you, Franz. Will you listen to me? What is it? Don't make your child's father guilty. At Elisia's request, large tears fell from Franz's eyes. Franz burst into tears and hugged Elisia. He repeated his apologies and declarations of love while weeping. Even as he confessed his guilt toward Elisia, he could not let go of her hand for fear that she would leave him. That night, Elisia soothed Franz throughout the night. I forgave him on his behalf, because he couldn't forgive himself. And the next day, the two finally began spending long nights together in the same bed. As the seasons passed, the trees of the palace garden changed their attire many times. One day, when emerald greens covered the garden that had once been blanketed in snow-white blossoms, "Your Highness." "Go away." "His Highness the Crown Prince." The Crown Prince's palace buzzed with activity. During the nobles' meeting, news arrived that the Crown Princess had begun labor. At the servant's message, the Crown Prince quickly ended the meeting and left. Now, he paced before the door of the bedroom that had been converted into a delivery room. To be precise, he was arguing with the butler. "Gordon." Franz, his carefully styled hair a mess, shouted at the butler blocking the delivery room door. This was unusual for him. "Why can't I come in?" "I told you, it's imperial law. Do you think I don't know that?" Franz stamped his foot angrily at Gordon's stubborn insistence. Law. Elisia was experiencing labor pains behind this door. Yet he couldn't even be by her side. What was this difficult law? This was the first time he regretted being the Crown Prince. Franz couldn't hide his worry and finally shoved Gordon violently. "I will ask His Majesty's permission later. So, move aside." "Your Highness." "Gordon, how many times have you—" "Ah. Liz." Franz suddenly flung the door open when he heard a scream from inside the delivery room. He ignored what Gordon was shouting from behind, his eyes saw only Elisia. Elisia moaned on the large bed, covered from the waist down by a blanket. Her face had turned pale, and cold sweat coated her forehead, making Franz feel anxious. Liz. "Just a moment, Your Highness." Aaron's arm entered Franz's field of vision, as he tried to reach Elisia past the midwives. "If you're going to mention the law, stay away." Franz looked at Aaron, who was blocking him, with an annoyed expression. Aaron raised his eyebrows and seized his wrist. "I intend to cast a cleanliness spell." Cleanliness is the priority in the delivery room. Franz, who was about to push Aaron, stopped at his explanation. His eyes remained fixed on Elisia as he waited for Aaron's spell to complete. "Okay, I'm done." "Thanks, Aaron." At Franz's quick thanks, Aaron blinked. He watched the Crown Prince's broad back running alongside the Crown Princess's head and let out a faint laugh. "You're welcome." "Yes." Elisia's small voice rose above her screams. Elisia was enduring severe labor pains. It hadn't even been an hour since true labor began, but it felt like half a day had passed. Ha. Liz. Elisia blinked her teary eyes and tilted her head to the side. Franz held her hand tightly. When their eyes met, Franz looked like he was about to cry. "I'm sorry, Why are you apologizing again?" Elisia scolded Franz weakly. This man felt guilty for every pain and difficulty Elisia faced. It made Elisia sad. Franz could make Elisia happy, but she felt she could not make him happy. But when the baby was born soon, Franz would be able to ease some of the burdens on his heart. Together, with the child, they would complete their happiness. Therefore, this pain was a process she had to endure. "Your Highness the Princess, don't worry. The baby will be born soon so that His Highness the Crown Prince will not feel more guilty. Perhaps within a few minutes." "How?" Elisia, who was looking at Franz, was confused by Aaron's explanation. The baby still seemed far from being born. Yet Aaron spoke as if Elisia would give birth at any moment. "How? Do you think Aaron here is going to let you suffer through all the labor pains needlessly?" Aaron smiled as he traced a magic circle in the air. Glowing lines formed a unique pattern as his hands moved, and the circle floated above Elisia's bed. Aaron continued, waving his hands like an orchestra conductor toward the magic circle. "This is a request from His Highness the Crown Prince. I had to prepare a birth spell I had never attempted before, which was troublesome, but it seems it will be worth it." Aaron finished his explanation and smiled at Elisia with his eyes. The moment their eyes met, Elisia sank into the depths of subconsciousness. What? When Elisia closed her eyes and crossed the painless river of sleep, the delivery room filled with blinding white light. Anne! The cry of new hope rang out, completing the perfect happiness of Elisia and Franz, echoing into the world. As Elisia was lifted from the swamp of deep sleep, she heard the voice of happiness calling to her. The sound of perfect happiness for a family of 3.